Será que vivemos num mundo de mais respostas do que perguntas? As verdades instantâneas em tempo real aguçam ou aplacam o desejo de reflexão. Algumas criações humanas têm o poder de atiçar o questionamento. Uma das mais antigas é o Talmud, o livro escrito há cerca de 1500 anos, reunindo preceitos e discussões travadas pelos chamados sábios da religião de Moisés, Abraão e Davi. Atualizar o Talmud para o hebraico moderno e, a partir daí, para o inglês e outras línguas contemporâneas, era algo visto como heresia por alguns ultra-ortodoxos. Mas foi nessa aventura que se lançou o rabino israelense Adin Steinsaltz. Nascido em Jerusalém numa família de esquerda não religiosa, Steinsaltz começou a vida intelectual pela ciência antes de se tornar rabino. Hoje é considerado o maior especialista em leis antigas desde Maimônides, grande pensador da Espanha medieval. Conhecedor de história da arte, fluente em vários idiomas, é o que se pode definir como homem renascentista, dono de cultura que passa por diferentes áreas do conhecimento. Mordaz e com muita presença de espírito, de passagem pelo Brasil, ele conversou com o milênio.
Rabbi Steinsaltz, translations, good ones, of course, are more than mere versions of a book in another language, because they can be doors to a whole new universe. After more than 45 years, right, of hard work, you have completed the first ever translation of the Talmud into modern Hebrew. What transformations do you expect as a result?
Basically, every translation is not a mere translation. You cannot have a, see when they say about objective called the exact translations, it's just a myth, or worse. Every translation is a commentary. Sometimes a good commentary, sometimes a bad one, but it's a commentary. That's one thing. Now, what did I do? I tried to open a gate, which is what I defined. Thank you for the imagery. But what I'm basically trying to do, I am opening gates and building bridges. The language part is the smallest part. You see, the difference between Aramaic and Hebrew is perhaps less than that between Spanish and Portuguese. They're really sister languages. So it's not that hard. The real problem is the style. It's a book written in a style that I would say no other book written in the same style. Other book, I'm not speaking in Jewish literature or in German literature. I don't know. Once I considered myself a well-read person, never saw a book like this. It is not a matter of praise, it's just a matter of telling you what it is. So the book is very different. So in order to understand or to get into the book, my work was trying to open a gate. See, I have to speak the language of the person that is reading me. I have to understand him. I have to understand what he understands and what he doesn't understand. So that is my work. So what did it do? It did it make a big revolution? Look, even with Luther, let me just add that in order to add a little bit to the effectivity of the translation, there were about 100,000 big cannons helping it. See, the 30 Years' War was not a small thing. So some of the changes that were done by Luther wasn't just done by a translation. They were followed with heavy guns. Now, I don't have the heavy guns. So
you have 5,000 words.
Yes, see, it's
5,000 pages, right?
5,000 pages,
5,000
right? pages. It's a big, so I cannot say, but I think it made a difference.
I will quote what you said in an interview. The Talmud, as a book, has an enormous quality that the world needs now more than anything else: sanity.
What I'm saying is, when I spoke about sanity, look, you are really living in a world in which the point is, in a certain way, everything goes. Everything, more and more things are permitted. But it doesn't mean that people are more and more happy, or they do what they have to do. In so many ways, I mean, so many ways, so many reasons, in such a vast amount of things. So basically what the world needs is, we have upheavals, going up and down, in personal lives, and national lives, and general political lives. We move all the time like this. That is a kind of craziness. And this craziness is not just crazy because it's so to say, it's not nice to look at. It's very extremely dangerous because it is now, as somebody once wrote about it, is giving a gun in the hand of a 5-year-old boy. We have far more power than we have sense. As a world, see, in every field, we have a huge amount of power. So what we need is sanity. Now the Talmud is a book that it doesn't preach sanity. It creates sanity. It creates sanity because sanity is one of the hardest things to define. It's easier to define craziness. But sanity is the ability to hold different things in a certain stable equilibrium without freezing them to death.
Can you give an example? Why does the Talmud bring sanity? I mean, okay, there are legal problems that were scrutinized by rabbis thousands of years ago, but
it's not the legal problems on one side. It's not the legal problems. I'm speaking about the style. First of all, you see, one of the points about the Talmud is it's built on dialogue. It's built on exchange. It is unlike most of the books in the world. It is not, I tell you something, but let's discuss it. And discussion can be sharp, but it's a discussion. So there's always what we call an interchange. There is what we call a dialogue. There's a what we call dialectic in the book in itself. So the dialect is a part of the building it. You can't learn three lines of the Talmud without getting into dialectical kind of thinking. Now, when you are raised along these lines, it means that whenever you see something, you have, see, how to put it, what's the right question to ask about it?
This continuous thinking, asking of the Talmud, it reminds me of the scientific thinking. Isn't modern science essentially Talmudic in a way?
The modern science is dialectic in one way. Even though, look, a scientist, if you interviewed some, possibly you did, scientists have a nice tendency, or not a nice tendency, to become dogmatic. To become dogmatic. The scientist may be an atheist, but he's a fanatic. So you can find some of them together, these things together. So that is one thing. Now science in itself is dealing, it is in a way can work, because it's all, basically it is limited to a small range of subjects. There is no science. Say science with a capital letter.
Yeah, but other sciences are dealing with like bigger questions maybe.
With everything. The big questions, see, some of the scientists that deal with big questions they will be accused by their colleagues as turning dangerously into philosophy. My education was in chemistry, in physics, and in mathematics, not in the humanities. So I really like them, I respect them, and let me tell you that having something in you in a test tube and working with it is far more enjoyable to me than speaking about philosophy. But I'm just saying science is, and this is again the part of insanity. The part of insanity is when you assume that things are more than they are. Look, Now the point about certain things that you ask a scientist, you ask him questions that if he would be honest, he would say, how by God do I know? You ask me about what is the destiny of humanity, I cannot tell you.
Sure.
You ask me what will happen in 2 days from now, how do I know? I can answer you what the little things that I do know. Now, when I'm not trying to make, when I'm not trying to make science into some kind of a pagan god, I'm doing a good deal of good to science. Because that is what it is. When the sun is a god, it's a dangerous god. When the sun is a star in the heaven, it's much better to deal with.
So, from science to law, the Talmud, which records legal and religious
Lots
discussions, right? Thousands of rabbis had over centuries, and it was compiled 1,500 years ago. It was so long ago. So
yes.
Notions such as crime, justice, freedom, those notions were different, right?
In the past, do you think that I believe that in the past people didn't want money, sex and power? One has to be not only a historical, but also a fool to say it. But many years ago, I wrote a small play. I'm doing also these things. Small play.
You're a Renaissance man.
Scientist
and writer and rabbi.
I wanted to be an artist, but I didn't have time enough to develop it. I used to do some sculpturing as a young man. Anyway, but going back to it. So I think I wrote about Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and I depicted him in a way as a modern person. And I said in my preface, do you think that the difference of 3,000 or 4,000 years will make such a big difference in human nature? See, what are the big questions? We have all kinds of assumptions, but basically, the same basic assumptions. We are built more or less of the same material. It's not only that we have the same noses, more or less, see, but we have the same way of breathing. We have the same way of moving. The changes are, again, had it been a difference of 300,000 years, say, okay, there is a chance of something happening. 1,500 years is a small time. Because the basic questions, the basic things, are not very different. The problems were the same problems. Now, in that sense, I'm saying, look, you deal with problems. Of course, they become different, and the decisions may be different. And every country, every system of law or religion has also different answers. But the point is not to copying one set of ideas, but rather, how can we understand the different sets? How do we understand them? What do they mean to us? And that you can sit with somebody that is, see, I suppose, I never had the chance, see, let's suppose that I'm meeting, say, one of those sages from the planet, say, Mars, comes for a visit. I think that we could have a conversation still.
So, let's say in 1,000 years, when a historian looks back at our time, at what we call Western civilization, will he see a Judeo-Christian civilization? Do you believe in a Judeo-Christian civilization? Or do you see one tree with different branches, or several branches, in your opinion?
What's happening now in the world, in a big way, is perhaps not Judeo-Christian at all. We are not living not in a Jewish environment, and not in a Christian environment, and not, with all the points, not even, to speak rightly about it, even not in a Muslim environment. We are living in a growing paganization of the world. I see not just images, I see the old gods, Greek gods, pre-Greek gods. I'm seeing them emerging You see, you had once a god that was called Baal, or it's called in the New Testament, it's again a Hebrew connotation, in Aramaic, Mammon, money. Look at this big god. Is he not bigger than any of the church's saints? Look at the other goddess that was called in the very old language, Astarate, Venus, sex, raw sex. Sometimes with a little bit of clothing, just for, not for enticement, not for chastity. Isn't she becoming much bigger than, say, a dozens of Marias? And what I'm calling the third goddess, she was in Greece, she wasn't so famous, Calliope, is the goddess of making a noise. Self-aggrandizement, fame for the sake of fame, to be famous because you are famous.
What do you think about the internet and in particular, you know, with tablets and smartphones, because it's much more interactive and
Yes.
we're not watchers, we're users,
Yes,
and therefore we have to think, I mean, to make decisions.
It's a great power, and as many great powers, it's in a certain way, it's not the same thing like the atom bomb, but it's still a great power. It's a great power, and again, as I told you, the real problem is it in the right hands? Now, I'm not going to say to stop it. We cannot. But I'm saying, is it not when you have, instead of an encyclopedia, you have a Wikipedia? Is it an advance? See, when I want to get information, I can get it in the internet much easier, 100% so. Do I get better information?
Lots of information doesn't mean knowledge. Knowledge doesn't mean understanding. Understanding doesn't mean wisdom. Are we more informed and perhaps less wise?
Well, one of the ways to spread ignorance is not by telling people lies. It's by giving people too much information. Too much information has the same, is even worse than having very little information. I can't absorb the information, I can't assess it, I can't use it. So, what is the result then? The result is you are flooded. See, look, I saw it here in this country. So it's beautiful to see. See, a few drops of rain are always welcome. See, 40 centimeters of rain is not so very convenient. 2.5 meters of rain. There are countries in which you have it. Just imagine in Rio, 2.5 meters of rain coming within 24 hours. So what would you call it? You'd call it a disaster. Not anything. But rain is good. Rain is good, isn't it? Every drop is good. The amount of rain, you going beyond a certain limit, is disastrous. Now, what can we do about it? You see, you want to know almost about every subject. You can go to internet just now, try to find about it, and you'll find papers and more papers in every language speaking about it. So after some time, you won't read them. It won't do you any good. So we come again to the basic problem about sifting, sorting, dealing with things. Now, the question is, who has the right to do this sorting?
Are you pessimistic? Because in a lecture delivered at the Academy of Social Science of Shanghai, you said that there is some similarity between Talmud's Pirkei Avot and the basic book of Tao.
Yes.
And I'll put it very simply, but the Tao says more or less that things contain the germ of their opposite or of their non-existence, which you can understand of their destruction, maybe.
Okay.
So does humanity contain the germ of its destruction?
Look, I wouldn't, if I would believe that the world of tomorrow is necessarily becoming worse and worse and worse, I would possibly not exist anymore. Just willingly. There's no sense in it. So any person, even that speaks on a television program, has to be an optimist. See? I suppose you have to be an optimist as well. You meet all kinds of people, and you sometimes hope that one of those dummies that you interview, me and others, will possibly say something to save the world. Don't you have such an expectation? So that is what it is. We are all of us trying. And in a secret way, we all of us believe that somehow, in some format, there's still hope. You know, I once, to give you, I've been asked, say, where does Judaism stand with the division between Leibniz and Voltaire? Leibniz just said that our world is the best of all possible worlds. And Voltaire, who wrote Candide and others, and which comes to the decision that our world is the worst of all possible world. Where does our religion stand about it? It's a nice question, incidentally. And so I would say that our answer is something like this. We are living in the worst of all possible worlds, and wish there's still hope.
Rabbi Steinsaltz, thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you for the questions.